Um, at St. Mary's Day School, we are in our School Improvement Day, and this is a time for you as stakeholders, as parents, to come and listen to our improvement plans. We have these 6 principles that we are working with, and we each have leads for each of our principles. They've established the action plans, and today we are here to listen to the milestones of where they're at in their respective plans and begin planning for next year. I know it's only December, but our comprehensive needs analysis begins now with the school improvement plan being completed in March and April. So this morning, we are going to be, again, coming in and listening to our team leads of each principal. Then this afternoon, we will be analyzing this current school year to begin creating our improvement plan for school year 23-24. Hard to imagine that's where we're at right now. So I thank you for joining us today. And if you'll notice on the calendar for this year, there are built-in days for school improvement days. These are days when we have no school for students, but as a staff, we get together, such as in this case today, and we work cohesively on our school improvement plans. So this is the invitation for you to come in during those times to become a part of our school improvement plans, because you are the stakeholders, and we encourage you to become involved in this process. So thank you for joining us today, and I will go ahead and get going here. We have Principal 2, which is going to be provided by Ms. Yaira. Thank you.
Okay, good morning again, and I apologize in advance if I start to squeal, because I can't keep still. Okay, so Principle 2, effective teachers instruction, our goal in our action plan. And before I start, I also sent a link to everybody in your email for our documents. So you can either look at it up here, or if you want to pull it up on your laptop, I sent you an email to our documents. So our goal for Principle 2 is that teachers will quarterly gather student formative and summative assessment data to analyze with a grade level band to make determinations for student intervention and enrichment grouping. So basically using the data available, our diagnostics, our DIPPLS data, to inform how we're grouping our students for intervention and enrichment. So that is the goal we started with this year. In September, professional development, we reviewed that. In our discussion, we felt that PLC meetings are the best way to gather that evidence that this is happening. So from there, we had sent an email out on behalf of our group to everybody requesting copies of the PLC meeting minutes to be shared with us as Principal 2. That way we see that evidence and there's that data to show that we are using the data we have to group our students. But however, we haven't received anything yet. It may probably be in your own individual PLC folders, but we haven't collected it all together. So that will lead to a question there in a second. But additionally, we also encourage teachers to submit their child study team forms for students who were identified as needing more support based on data and observations as well, because those forms are further evidence of using data to make determinations for intervention enrichment, and those were due on October 7th. So that was just a reminder sent out to everybody. So again, making sure that this evidence is being collected. So that's a pretty quick update, and you can pull that up in the Google Drive. That bottom one, the summary of progress, that's what I'm reading from. So that's just a really quick summary of where we're at right now. It's just asking for that data to be shared with us so that we can see that this is happening, so that we can tell if we're meeting our goal or not. So questions we have, you can scroll down a bit for further comments or questions, discussions, is first that we feel like more time or dedicated time is needed to work in these PLC groups so that we're effectively using this data. I know for our grade band 5-6, we do try our best to keep our regularly scheduled PLC meetings, but sometimes just with the amount of things we have to discuss, it may not always focus solely on data for intervention enrichment. So, looking at, is there a way to make sure that we're getting that dedicated time for PLC groupings? In previous professional development with Mrs. Jellyby Gay, we read about how some schools, they meet constantly, and they're very, very dedicated to meeting with PLC groups to always be looking at this data, looking at their progress monitoring to make sure that they are using it effectively all the time. So that's just one comment, and then our question is, how consistent have all the PLC grade bands been with meeting specifically on student data to make determinations for intervention and enrichment? So it's kind of just a question out there. I can only speak for 5-6, but we have the other grade bands. How consistent have you been on, every time are you meeting, are you discussing this, or has it been kind of sporadic? So that's something we would like to hear from. The next two items, part of the implications for family involvement involve sharing data at PT conferences. And so again, our question teachers is, what was your attendance like? Were you able to share that data with family members, with students' families? What was kind of your percentage rate for attendance? So that we, again, have that evidence that the data is being shared with families. Along with that, part of the implications involve data nights. We haven't had one yet, and we're just wondering if that's still going to happen. Is that in the works, or is that something we need to plan for so that we're sharing the data community-wide? And then the last comment question that we have is just regarding RTI. It looks different in each classroom at the moment because we're all responsible individually as teachers for how we implement RTI. But in the past, I know that it was done differently, where it was more collaborative among the grade band group. So it was implemented differently. So the question is, will there be an opportunity to kind of revisit how the structure of RTI is right now for the future, maybe not this school year, but next, so that we are meeting our goal, we are using our data, we are effectively doing our intervention in a structured way, and it's not just kind of, okay, it's up to you as the teacher to do it. We're all kind of on the same page of how intervention is implemented so that we're, using our data effectively. So that's pretty much our update. That's what we have. I don't know if we want to discuss now or, at some other time, but those are the things that we have for our area. Any questions? Comments? Okay. Okay, right now? Okay, so if the leads can come on up, because you have to stay live. And just give a quick update, just let us know how are your grade band meetings going within PLC groups? Are you consistently talking about data and using that for intervention, or is it kind of here and there? No wrong answers. We need the information just so we can help ourselves improve. So I'll go ahead and turn it over to Mr. Crujito. I'm gonna scoot over next to him so it doesn't.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Mr. Crujito. I'm a third grade teacher, and I work with Mr. Palaka. Our two classes are a grade band. We haven't had an opportunity to meet in the last few weeks, but our first few meetings were very successful. Mrs. Begay sat in with us and we talked about student data, what to do with our red students and our yellow students, how to create more effective phonics lessons, etc. So we plan on continuing with that. Thank you.
My name is Mrs. Nalbenma. I'm the 5th, 6th grade lead teacher. And the PLC meetings that we've been having, we've actually had those items on our agenda to go through the different iReady data and everything, but we did have to table those, and we're going to table them to our next PLC meeting after the middle of the year assessments have been done. And the reasoning for that is because we had to work with more immediate incidences and situations that were happening within our grade band, which I'm happy to say 5th and 6th grade, the whole band works collaboratively very well, that we can work on them and talk about them. And so we're looking forward to being able to do all of the data work that we need to do when the new data comes out.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Miss Obeya, not our team lead, but she's not here, so I'll just go over what's been happening in our PLC bands. One of the things that we're really focusing on is our RTI. So looking at our data, making sure that we're using that during our RTI. And for this next quarter, we kind of wanted to revisit how we're doing RTI. We were thinking about doing it as a whole grade band, as in each teacher will have a specific skill, and then all our kids will go to that specific teacher that skill that they need more work on. But we haven't had a chance to meet on that yet. So I think after, I'm hoping, I don't know if we'll have time these 2 weeks, but that is our plan for our 3rd and 4th quarter. Kind of revisit our RTI and then look to see if we can do something where it's more collaborative.
Oh, we were so close. Thank you, ladies, for your updates, and Mr. Corrido as well. So that leads perfectly to just what I was mentioning with that RTI structure. As formerly, being a teacher aide, and how we structured RTI was that collaborative method where, you group students based on skill level, based on what immediate, need they have, and then teachers, TAs, ESS aides, one skill, and then students went to that teacher for that RTI time. It's different now, because as an individual teacher, you're kind of doing the RTI in your own classroom with just you and the TA and however else you structure it. So for me, it's a little more difficult to me. I don't know how others feel, but that's exactly where we're leading to. What Ms. Optea said is that can we revisit that? Is that a way that we can look at doing this so that we make sure that we're doing this as effectively as possible? Because we know that intervention and enrichment is very, very needed for our students. So I'm glad that, that conversation is happening, because we're having that conversation as well within our grade band. So it sounds like, grade bands are using this data. So the thing that I would just ask on behalf of our group is to make sure that your meeting notes reflect that, and that you're sharing that, or it's, put in a place where we can have access to it. So when it comes time to needing to collect that evidence, we find it, we know where it is, and we can share it. So other than that, that's all I have. Pasquale.
Thank you, Escalade Ms. Yaiba, Principal 2, for the work you've done at this point. And we are working on our MOI, and as we know, when you analyze data, you look at the practices to see if what we have in place is indeed working. So we shall see, based on the data, that at the end of this next 2 weeks, if what we're doing is working. And if it's not, again, revisiting the strategies, revisiting, as Ms. Yaiba said, the groupings, and determine what would be best for our students, and try another method if we are not seeing that growth. So thank you, Principal 2. excellent segue into our data that we're working with right now. Do I have another principal? Okay, we have principal 4, and that is Mr. Crejito.
Good morning, everybody. Again, I'm Mr. Crejito, and I work with Principal 4, Team Effective Curriculum, and I'll read our description here. Effective curricula are evidence-based resources used for teaching and learning aligned to Arizona standards in all content areas. Districts and schools adopt local curriculum. An effective curriculum ensures a continuum of inclusive, equitable, and challenging learning opportunities, high expectations for learning, and access to a well-rounded education for all learners. Our team has not had the opportunity to meet the last few weeks, and we were hoping to use today to improve our plan. We are going to make a goal today, come up with an effective schedule for meeting times, talk about the collection of pacing guides from teachers so that we can upload that onto our online website. So we plan to make the most of today. Thank you.
All right, good morning. My team, we represent Principle 3, which is entitled Effective Organization of Time. And basically, at this time, we continue to do what you call work in progress. This project that we have inherited is part of our efforts to continue to work on our school so that we improve on all areas that are associated with the curriculum and the learning of our students here at Second Mesa Day School. This school improvement is always a part of a school. As each year we plan and we come up with strategies, with methods that will improve our instructions for all our students. So this is what we call works in progress, meaning that we will always be working on some sort of improvement strategy for not only this upcoming year, but all the years that Second Mesa will be in operation. This, as you recall, we were evaluated by a team from Cogdia, I think about 2 years ago. And in this evaluation of our school, they evaluated our programs in different areas. And they come up with recommendations on how we can improve, what areas that they saw that improvement might occur in, as well as all the good things that school is already doing. So therefore, this is our project at this time, is to go to those areas that we felt that we could become more effective, more better in how we educate our students. So this is a project that we're all working on. All principals are included. There's about 6 of them, I believe. But each of us, each group has a particular principle that we're working on. So at this time with my group, I think there's about 8 of us on my group. We are dealing with effective organization of time. And meaning that how well are we utilizing our time as far as providing appropriate instructional as well as non-instructional time. How are we using our time effectively? And a lot of our work is going to go to the development of a calendar for the school year. In the past year, we've kind of always had school calendars that kind of reflect going from August till May. But this time around, as a school, I think we need to not include, we also need to include the summer months and what are we providing during the summer. So we, in effect, are going to be headed toward a year-round calendar that reflects the months going from August all the way back to August. What are we doing each month, not only during the school year, but what are we doing during the summer as well? Because as you know, even during the summer, we still continue to work with students, like with summer school, with ESS programs, these enrichment types of programs that we implement. So we want to include this as part of the school year calendar. So that's basically what our team will be involved with. We're going to be looking at our schedules, our daily schedules. How effectively are we providing instruction throughout the day? Are we utilizing our hours effectively? So these are the types of things that we will be working on and looking at. Currently, we are working on our action plan. We have completed, well, I shouldn't say completed, but we are working at this time on indicator 3.1 and 3.5, which means that we have 3.2, 3.3, and 3.4 to look at as well. So we will be working on those other indicators as we move along. We will have questions of other committees. We want their input, what recommendations they might have, so that we create an effective school year calendar for the upcoming school year. But at this time, that's what we are involved with my committee. And if anyone has any questions, please feel free to come visit with us. Thank you. Any takers?
Thank you, Mr. Palaka, for Principal 3. So yeah, it's a lot of planning. As I said, it's already beginning to plan for next year in our school calendar. So next we have Principal 1, which is leadership.
We're getting better. Action plan. There you go. All right. We are Principal 1. Within Principal 1, we were focusing on 3 areas. The first one is creating a teacher retention plan for SMDS. We have done, and do as a whole, I was talking to HR that we would like the staff input on how we can analyze and create a retention plan for here at Second City School. So, questions like, why are staff leaving? How can we keep our staff here? So those types of questions. Most likely would be like a questionnaire we would send out, and then we would collaborate again on creating something to implement here at the school, retaining not just teachers, but all staff. Next one, recruitment process plan for new teachers to include a team of diverse individuals to assist with multiple recruitment venues. So this one is an ongoing one, and we want to collaborate with other HRs because we are going to be going into the OB education thinking of all. I forgot what it's called, I haven't read it. Yeah, thank you. But, so because of that, we don't want to be just one individual school, we want to collaborate with other HRs and other schools to see how we can recruit, highly effective teachers for not just here at Second Mesa Day School, but at other schools here on Hopi. And to do that, we are going to go ahead and set up a meeting with another HR. I guess they have a recruitment plan there that they've implemented, so we want to see if we can get a little bit of guidance and support from that person and see if we can create something here for just our school too. But that is a process. Obviously, they have their own schedule, so we would be hopefully doing that maybe next January or February, or maybe before the end of the school year. We're creating a set process for new recruited teachers and staff. Again, that's still being developed. That's going to tie in with us collaborating with other HRs as well. All right, next one. We can go to the next one. Principle 1.8, this one has to do with data and evidence. Looking at the first two, creating a plan and checklist on what Second Mesa Day School defines a highly effective teacher, and how can certified and classified employees better support diverse learners within Second Mesa Day School. So the first one, again, would be a lot of a collaboration again, with not just here, with all teachers at the school. And the second one is getting professional development in those respected areas. So in the process of it, we haven't really met on those two subjects or areas. The last one is sharing curriculum frameworks and Hopi educational frameworks with staff. And Mrs. Thomas has been on it with sharing emails and updates on the Hopi development framework for the education area. So thank you for that. So we put a checklist on that. So just a lot more information going out. A lot of information. And then the last principle is 1.2. So that would be on the next page. Here we have 3 areas again. Create clear goals on what exactly SMDS wants when it comes to high student academic achievement and growth. Goals and vision on SMDS will utilize an open panorama. And the third one is possibly create a vision board for parents/students on expectations when it comes to high academic and growth. We can do some edits on that part, but we haven't hit any of these yet. Again, this would be a collaborative with the academic staff. We really see what in our students, what our expectations when it comes to academics. And that would also coincide with, I think, Ms. Naiva's group too, because you did mention attendance, and data, so that would also coincide with that group too. And then I think a lot of the collaboration with parents and students, we are doing that with the Bobcat framework, but most of that has to do with, getting to know the student and their families, maybe possibly adding in a little bit of, I think the academic part of it too, but, collaboratively work with that group and see if we can, put some stuff in there that could possibly create a vision board. Maybe we put that within the framework as well. And then goals and visions. We have a mission statement, we have a vision, but I think we said we wanted to make edits to it, or possibly update it. There was talk about it, but hasn't been done yet. So possibly doing that maybe before the beginning of next year, making those edits and then putting it out there. Hopefully, creating banners for each classroom, because I know before I came here, there was a banner or the little thing I have in my classroom, but the vision statement and everything is a little outdated, so possibly putting updates to that as well. Other than that, that's all we have for our principal work. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Clyde. So a lot of this area, again, is looking at the recruitment and the retention of our staff. We are very fortunate that you know, you've all been returning, and we are very grateful that you stay with us because, you know, it's hard when staff go, you know, we get new employees, it's like a cycle, and we start all over with training and getting them caught up and so forth. But you know, when you retain your staff, these programs that we establish, it's a continuous path for it to, you know, ensure that it's still being implemented. So thank you for our staff that continue to return as a bobcat. So, but you know, we have our doors open to recruit other employees as well. So thank you, Principal One. Who is next? Principal 6. And that is by Ms. Carew. And remember, if you have any questions, please ask the leads. Thank you.
Okay, good morning. My name is Leora Carew, and I'm the lead for Principal 6, and we are community and family engagement. Okay, so we have 3 indicators in our principal and our. Can you go to the action plan? No, it's in 21. Should be in there. Okay, so for our action plan, as you know, our goal here is to plan community events. You know, not only for the school but for the community as well. So with the pandemic happening, you know, these past couple of years, we haven't had any public events or events for parents or the community. So our goal is to bring that back into our school and also to create those partnerships within our community. And so one of our goals, which we need to add in here, is that we're trying to create that partnership between Second Mesa Head Start, since you know, their facility is, you know, next door. So we want to start creating that partnership with them, because a lot of their students will eventually come to Second Mesa Day School. So we want to start working with them now, and you know, getting them to be involved with our school. So some of the events that we've planned, we did our planning for under number 3, our event planning. So we need to get together. We're going to get together again and start planning for January through May. But I also like the idea of what Mr. Palaka was talking about, and including the summer, you know, for June and July, because I think one of the things that I, you know, just heard from a lot of the community members is that they miss the drums of summer, you know, the recruitment drive. And so maybe that's something that we can bring back during the summertime. So that could be something we could implement. We can go to the summary. It's not on that one. It's not the first. No, it's the summary. In summary. Should be in there too. Go back to principal 6, and it should be in that folder. You can go to the meeting minute, we have all. So in this folder, we have our meeting minutes. There's more that need to be added. I'm still trying to figure out how to move them in there. So Ms. Bean's been a great help this morning, helping me to get that in there. But here we have all the meeting minutes that we've done for the different events. We have, if you can't find the summary, but it's not here, but it's in a different one. But anyway, so some of the things that our principal has completed thus far is in October 25th, we had our trunk or treat event. And we had a total of 23 programs and families that came and had a trunk. I think the only thing that we didn't think of at the time was doing a sign-in sheet for all the participants. So we missed that, and so we were like, oh, we didn't even think of doing a sign-in sheet to calculate how many families came through. But we were talking about it, we were thinking we probably had about 200 plus individuals that came to that trunk or treat event, so that was a big event. And in November, and then with this event, we also collaborated with the Second Mesa Head Start and the PAC to, come and work together with us in having this event. So it was a good turnout. In November, we had the Veterans Day celebration, which was on November 10th, and we had a total of 60 veterans that were invited, and 55 of them showed up for the event. We had a morning assembly. Each class did a presentation, which was in the form of a song, poem, just showing their gratitude to the veterans. And then followed by a luncheon that was provided by our Bobcat and, our kitchen staff here. So that was an excellent meal. We got a lot of compliments on that. And that event was also a collaboration with Principal 5. That should have been Principal 5, not 6. So we collaborated with Principal 5 to, get the Veterans Day event going, and so we worked together with them. And then for December, we don't have anything planned for December due to, respect for Gamlia. So we are planning a school-wide winter program that will take place on January 13th, beginning at 1 p.m. So we're currently in the planning stages of that. So we'll be coming together to get a theme in place so that teachers can start working on what they want to do during the winter program. And we just like to thank everybody, that's helped us throughout these events. And, of course, especially we want to acknowledge our community members that did come down during the trunk or treat and veterans events to help us with, like traffic control, cleaning up, setting up, and stuff like that. So they did that out of their own time. And we just like to express to, any parents that are out there, community members that you're always welcome to come and join our committee. We always need ideas. So, and of course, any of the staff too. So if you want to, jump in and share your ideas with us, we're always welcome to hearing what you have to say. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ascoli. A lot of great things have been happening here at our school, and I know families, you are very appreciative of the events that we do hold here at the school. And again, it takes teamwork in order for those things to happen. We have one last principal, and that is Principal 5. Okay, Mr. Adams' group. And this is on school climate and culture.
Okay, you can be my computer person, Mrs. Thomas. So I represent the Principle 5, Culture, Climate, Conditions, Morale, School Culture. And working alongside me, I have Mr. Nidimya, Ms. Andrews, Ms. Masayasaba, Ms. Thomas, and Ms. Tanera Fred, Ms. Alice, Mr. Bawisiuma, Ms. Aveda, Ms. Nabema, all jumped in with us. So anybody else, we're definitely tackling on one of the big things, right? School culture. So one of the things I wanted to just share on here is that conditions, climate, and culture have to do with the feeling you get when you walk into a school. And that's probably the best way that I can describe it. When you walk into the school, how do you feel as you greet staff? How do you feel as you see students? How do students feel in their classroom? How do they feel walking in the hall? And so there's a lot of components that play into a student's feeling, or a staff's feeling walking into the building and how they walk out during the day. So there's 6 components that we identified, and we chose to work with indicator 5.2, and that is element C and D. So we have, you guys can see that we have some zeros there, and in this area, we can go to our action plan now. Is the document right, or right, that one? Yep. We chose 5.2, and the goal in this area says to develop discipline policies and practices that promote SEL, so social emotional learning, including opportunities for students to reflect, problem solve, and build positive relationships. This one's a big one because we identified our practices, and we know what has been in place in the past, and we know that behavior has been one of our biggest things here at Second Mesa Day School, trying to figure out how do we create discipline practices and procedures that are healthy for the kid, right? We know that punitive measures of just, suspension and removal and avoidance are not the best, most healthiest ways of dealing with children and behaviors. And so we were tasked with the idea of trying to get a system that is a healthy way that's in line with our culture and in line with our vision as SMDS, and in line with helping create kids who can resolve their problems, even starting at this age. So the objective is to review current discipline policies that we have in place, see how well the procedures align with SEL, and take into account students' developmental stages, cultural backgrounds, and individual differences. So far, our implementation steps is reviewing our current policies. So looking through the handbook and saying, what do we have listed down, and how far back can we go, and seeing just what's in place there. And then looking at what currently happens when we do a behavior incident report. What happens with that report? Where does it go? What's the resolution on it? Who's accountable to it? And if you guys have gone through it so far in the school year, you see that there's some loopholes, there's some room for improvement in our current system. And so this has been our task, is to just look at what is in need, what needs clarity, what needs refinement, what are some ideas to improve. Second one says, how is the data being collected? So currently NACE's information is required to be submitted so that we could not only track behaviors, but also receive funding based on the amount of behavior incidences that we have within a given month. However, raise your hand if you ever inputted a behavior incident on NACES. Yeah. So our reporting procedures are very low, right? I think Ms. Laban has one because she's been here many years, so she's did it when they were doing it at that time in the school year. But as we know now, there's training needed, and we don't have a system that we go into that reports and is captured in the computer for data purposes. So looking at that and figuring out how do we get that a part of our system. 3 is identify schools and discipline models or programs that are restorative, instructive, and developmentally appropriate. So looking at what school, how are schools, the elementary settings, how are they proactively handling behaviors? How are they doing it in a way that builds student leadership? How are they doing it in a way that promotes inclusion? How are they doing it in a way that promotes, acknowledging individual differences? As you know, starting from like 3rd grade, 4th grade, 5th grade, 3rd grade, 4th grade, 5th grade, 6th grade, we begin to see the conflicts, right? The conflicts begin to come up, peer-to-peer conflicts, group conflicts. And so how do we create something so that we can have a behavior protocol? What training do staff need? What training what might we need to use so that we can actually help students resolve some of their conflicts in healthy ways? So that's what we've been trying to look for, is schools that are actually doing it. And it's kind of challenging because a lot of off-reservation in-city schools that don't reflect our population, they're the ones doing a lot of this, the latest practices and SEL, restorative justice type of models. But we don't have too many rural environments, other than the one in Laguna, the one in Santa Fe, and there's a couple schools here and there who are taking a really advanced approach into working with behaviors. And so those are the schools we're trying to find. So if you guys have any ideas or suggestions for schools for us to look at, where we're currently utilizing Mr. Nithinga's old school, which is tuba boarding, and looking at ways in which we're able to actively work with behaviors and students in a proactive way. And then lastly was to determine if purchases are needed, if the community can enact new policies and procedures. So currently our updates, as we're working through this, is, if you scroll on down just a little bit more, we're just kind of tasking out our team. So, finding past SMDS behavior matrices. Did we have a behavior matrix in the past? If so, what did it look like? How was it sectioned off? What types of behaviors were accounted for? If you look at some of the handbooks at other schools, they'll have the whole list full of all these behaviors, right? And then they tell you, what to do. It's almost like a decision matrix. Okay, this student does this, okay, do this. Student does this, do this, right? And it's almost like a workflow. So just trying to look out for those and trying to find ones that kind of fit for us is kind of what we set out to research and find some options that we can work with. Also identify possible forms to record incidents. So, again, this reporting process, how do we do it in a way that gets information into NACIS, and then also gets information out to a teacher, their parent, the administrator, counselor, right? How do we do it in a way that it's being respectful to FERPA, but it's also, sharing, information with those individuals who need to know. And so that's really challenging because, just trying to find communication tools like that are challenging. But we're taking off the start. It's like, let's start with a form. Let's just start with a form that can get us going. And research and contact free schools with restorative programs. So still just looking out for schools and finding out where, which schools are, how they're functioning, and what they can actually, what they have to share on how they've been promoting behavior practices in line with SEL. That's one that we're currently working with. And lastly, review SMDS handbook and summarize outdated behavior policies that are unclear. So this one was, I think we're only able to go back a couple years, huh, to the most recent ones, because if any of you guys got some old handbooks, please share with us. Teachers, parents, community, if you got some old handbooks, donate it to the school because we couldn't find some of the old handbooks that might have had something that was working really well and that we might be able to reflect on. So we're just trying to compile all this information so that we can make a better informed decision on moving forward with this. But I think that's been our primary focus, and I think if we can tackle this, I think what we're kind of thinking is we would I'd say measuring satisfaction. So like a teacher's satisfaction, I think of that like, if the teacher fills out an incident report, how satisfied do they feel with it being resolved or handled, right? And so a 10 is, yes, we have a really clear system. I know what to do. I trust the process, and everybody's held accountable. Like, that's a 10. A 1 is, I have no idea what to do, and I keep doing the same thing and nothing happens, and I don't know who's doing what, right? That's like a 1. So we're trying to improve from a 1 to a 3 to a 5 to a 6 to a 7, and eventually you get to maybe a 10. But that's the goal, and I think that's what we're trying to work towards. So, did I leave anything out? Got it all? Okay. Any questions? I don't want to answer any questions since we're live here, but yeah, thank you. That's Principle 5, and I think that wraps up our principal work in some of the groups that are sharing. Okay. Close it up.
Thank you, Ms. Foley. So that's in summary of where we're at with our principles 1 through 6, and as you can see, there is work that is being made, and it takes a lot of planning and time and energy to meet as teams to get these processes moving. And unfortunately, it's the time. We don't have enough time in the day to have our meetings collectively like we do today. And it does mean we have to have no school on some days to ensure that our goals are being made and that planning and collaboration is taking place with all our staff, which includes the drivers, custodians, facilities, our cooks, people who normally are not in our meetings because they are doing their bus runs, cleaning the classrooms, cleaning the kitchen. It involves them. So appreciate you joining us this morning, parents, guardians, and community members. As you know, SMDS is your school, and we want you to become more involved in our processes here. Your insight is important. A lot of times we don't see what's happening, but as an outsider, you do, because we practice these things every day. It's a norm for us. And a lot of times we can see things that go unnoticed by us as staff, but you as a parent, you as a visitor, see something that catches your attention or catches a need of concern. Those are times that we need to hear from you so that we can improve our practices here for our students. So appreciate you all providing your updates and your summaries. We are at about almost an hour and a half. We will take a 15-minute break. It is almost 10 o'clock. We'll come back here around 10:15. From 10:15 to 10:45, we will have a core values update by Ms. Clyde. And from 10:45 to 11:30, you are going to be meeting in your respective groups to do some more planning on where you're at right now, focusing on this year's goals and objectives. This is your time to meet. And then we will have lunch, okay? Are there any questions? None? Okay, thank you. We are on break now, so we